Good morning, YouTube. It has been quite a while since I've sat on here and done a video, so I'm feeling pretty rusty. I haven't sat in front of a camera since the last video that you've seen on this channel. So today I thought I wouldn't pressure myself in any way. I would just go through how the depth year went for me in 2019 and do a bit of a recap, since we are in December, almost the middle of December now. So I thought I'd do that today, and then, like warm up and, get some videos filmed that I have been thinking about, because I have been thinking about this for a while as well, and feeling like I did want to jump in front of a camera again. And I thought I'd just recap how I did based on the video I filmed at the beginning of the year, which I'll link in the description below if you're interested. I had 3 areas that I said that I would focus on, and 3 areas that I said I wanted to autopilot. Side note, if you can hear background noises, it's probably my dishwasher going. It's pretty loud when in certain phases. So the first thing I said I was going to focus on was spirituality and New Age, and like reading broadly in those areas as opposed to drilling right down into a specific practice or that sort of thing. Especially paganism, and really looking into that. And I did do that, and there were some book reviews that I put out based on a book that I would allow myself each month, specifically on the topic, just so that I wouldn't be, I guess, inundated with all these books and that become a problem in and of itself. The book that I got up to and I have finished but I've never reviewed, and I will be doing that on the channel at some point soon, was the If Women Rose Rooted book. And that's one that I do want to review here on the channel, because I really did get something out of it. It was a really good book. And this was recommended by Jessica Star, the Story Witch. So really enjoyed this one. But I think that is probably the last book that I purchased mindfully in order to continue this study. And the second thing I wanted to focus on was the moon phases and how they relate, just in terms of energy and the energies they bring, but also in terms of my menstrual cycle. And I did feel like I achieved this. I did do some tracking to see how my moods fluctuate, and really get intentional about noticing where and when and all that sort of thing. So I feel that was one that I can tick off. And I did end up getting a oracle deck that I felt was related, and it sort of helped me track. It just, I guess, kept me mindfully on this topic, and that was the Queen of the Moon Oracle, and it's by Stacey DeMarco, sorry. And I just thought I'll dig some cards out and just show you while I'm talking about it. So I mean, these cards are quite beautiful, and they are, I guess, like you could call it digital collage. I'm not really sure. I'm not a digital artist, so I don't know what you call it, but I find the cards really beautiful, and obviously it gives you a keyword depending on the phase of the moon, and then a little book to go with it. So what I did was I had a little stand like you'd have, like a tarot card stand or any sort of card stand that I made, and I just made sure to pull out the card for the day and have a look at it and reflect on it. So it was a really good way to remind myself, if I wasn't looking up at the moon, what phase the moon was in, and the energies surrounding that. So I feel like I did achieve that. I also feel that I don't need to keep tracking my, especially my menstrual cycle. I feel that I tend to go on a very similar journey across the 28 days. I know some people continuously track it and journal about it, and I don't know, maybe the deeper you go, the more self-discovery and self-awareness you get out of it. I'm not sure, but I felt that I'd been tracking it for a couple of months, and I felt that it was no longer of use in a way, because I sort of knew what was coming, and I basically didn't feel like I needed to be doing this forever. So the third thing I said I was going to focus on, I suppose I might categorize this as a bit of a fail. This was tarot, and I started off the year with 2 tarot decks, the Shadowscapes Tarot and the Steampunk Tarot. I ended up getting rid of those maybe mid-year, and instead I got myself the Green Witch Tarot. I did on and off do tarot draws for the day and spend some time, I guess, trying to learn the structure of the tarot, but it's something that I never really dug deep into or got deep into. So I suppose that's a bit of a fail in that way. I'm not sure that tarot is something that I really want to get deeply into, or perhaps it's a case of, you know, learning about it over a number of years. I don't feel that I need to make, you know, like a 5-month study of it to become proficient in a short space of time. It might be something that I just do, you know, a tarot draw every day for a number of years until I know the cards better, and it being a bit of a slower goal, and something that I don't pressure myself with. So I just had to go and run and get the other thing I was going to talk about. I said I was going to create myself a Major Arcana pop culture deck based on, I guess, a series that I really enjoyed, and I did actually achieve that, and I do have a flip through of it in my videos, so I'll link that as well below. And this was creating a tarot deck on The Witcher. I took a lot of the artworks in the game. There's a card game that you can play, and a lot of artwork was developed for the card game, so I was really happy that I created this. I ended up using I think it was makeplayingcards.com in order to actually create this deck, which made it a lot easier. You can obviously custom the sizes, custom the back of the cards. I did borderless because I prefer borderless cards, and you know, you can just put text over the top of it. So that was something that I did achieve. Am I using it? I'm not using it very much at all, unfortunately. Just like I'm not really using my tarot decks or my oracle deck at the moment either. So I'm equally not using any of those tools at the moment. So I feel like in terms of creativity, I wasn't as creative and didn't spend enough time on, you know, like writing, drawing, or making art that I could have done. I feel like I did get lost down the black hole of YouTube quite a lot, and I spent a lot of time, sometimes I go through phases where I read a lot of fiction. Now I feel like books tend to get a free pass, whereas, you know, if you replace the word books with computer games or something else that everyone feels those things have no value, like they all say, oh, well, you're only playing a computer game, that's, you know, like you're wasting your time and that. But by the same token, if you are reading books to the exclusion of all other things and you're not working on your own personal goals and that, it's kind of the same thing anyway. It's still consuming. But I mean, I'm a book lover as well, and I do play computer games, so I do both of those things. I'm not having a go at anyone, but that was just a thought that came to me throughout the year as well, that really made me slow down on reading in general for quite a while actually. So that was something else that happened this year. And I'm mindful that this video is becoming super long, so I'll just quickly touch on the 3 things that I was going to put on autopilot. The first one was clothing and fashion. Sometimes I found myself in 2018 going on a real spiral of watching capsule wardrobes and, you know, aspiring to that particular aesthetic or style. I would then spend ages trawling online and in thrift stores for like the perfect, you know, like white button-down shirt to fill this particular gap in a wardrobe capsule that, you know, I don't like white button-down shirts at the end of the day. So this year I feel like I definitely put it on autopilot. I didn't actually spend a lot of money on clothes at all. I have a uniform work shirt that I can wear, that I have been wearing to work. I went and I purchased 2 really nice dresses that, you know, are very high quality, and I've been wearing to work in more formal situations. And I feel like I'm starting to have gaps in my wardrobe where I'm missing things, and especially my winter wardrobe. It's not super cold here, but I'm starting to miss certain items in my wardrobe and, you know, not have the appropriate outfit. So I purchased about 3 or 4 linen items. Some of them were linen blends, so they're a bit cheaper, and some of them were pure linen, so a bit more expensive, especially than I'm used to paying. And I've really noticed the difference on how it feels, like how cotton and linen and that feels compared to like the polyester like tops and outfits. And I've really started to hate the feel of like polyester plasticky shirts. And I don't know if it probably is a thing, I haven't looked into it, but I feel like Australia, we tend to get really poor quality things in general, like across the board. Like I feel like a lot of our shirts feel really thin, really plasticky, at least at the areas I'm looking. Even in some of the high end things, they might be thicker material, but once again, they're all plasticky feeling. Sorry, I am going on a bit of a tangent there, so moving on from that. But basically, I feel like I did achieve the putting it on autopilot in the fact I didn't spend a lot of money on it at all, or really think about it. I do need to come to a bit more of a balance next year where I fill some gaps in my wardrobe and continue to shift towards, you know, slower fashions. Another one was health and wellness. I wanted to put that on autopilot, and I think I did that pretty well. I didn't spend any time obsessing over like ways of eating or, you know, recipe, meal planning, that sort of thing. So I feel that was good. I do feel like a little bit demotivated making like meals at the moment. Like I feel like we're just cycling through the same ones, and I just don't have the motivation to, I don't know, try new things at the moment. I don't know if that's just because, you know, work is busy and I just don't really have the bandwidth to want to do that. I'm doing a lot of yoga, so I'm really enjoying that. It's become a bit of a habit, so I'm really excited about that. I did take up a new hobby. At the moment I'm doing karate, and that is quite enjoyable. I quite like the group atmosphere. It's a good group without being really, really huge, so I really enjoy that. And I feel like it's almost a little bit accountability, because they notice when you're not there, for example. So I feel like that's good too, because that's something I need to keep showing up. I was doing a fair bit of walking as well, and I really enjoy that. But once again, we've hit December and it's super hot, and there are tons of bushfires around at the moment, and so it's smoky, and so it's, once again, I feel like I'm starting to be sort of cooped up inside because, you know, the weather is disgustingly hot for, you know, taking long walks and that. So it's a bit of a shame, because we're also coming up to a time where I'm going to have a lot more time to do that as well, during the Christmas holidays. So the other thing I wanted to put on autopilot was finances, and you know, like potentially auto pay some bills, which I have been doing. I wanted to pay off our car loan, which we have, so that's really exciting. And what I did this year was I put around $30 a week towards a Christmas fund, so that when it came to Christmas, I think you have something like $1,500 in terms of, you know, gift giving and, you know, Christmas grocery shopping. So, you know, stocking up on, you know, like party foods, or, you know, foods that you don't eat like the rest of the year. So I feel like that really helped. Also, both my parents are born in December, so it's a double Christmas, birthday, gift giving experience as well. So, and maybe next year we look at not giving gifts. They did actually mention that this year, but it was already too late. I'd already started getting organized. So next year I'll probably put that out there, that, you know, no gifts next year for Christmas. You know, let's go have a lunch or a dinner instead, and then just give them, you know, something for their birthdays. So that will be awesome, because it takes a little bit of pressure off the end of the year. Especially my dad is really hard to buy for. My mum not so much, but my dad is so super hard to buy for. So I'm looking forward to that actually. And yeah, so I feel like finances we definitely did put on autopilot. in terms of savings and sinking funds. So I did one for the Christmas and that worked really well. We've also done a bills sinking fund. So we put a certain amount of money aside every month for bills, which we've calculated how much we spend on bills per year. So we've divided that by 26, and that's the amount of money we put aside for bills. So I don't need to worry about, oh, this specific money is for the water bill, this specific money is for the internet or whatever. It's just, here's the bills, all of this covers it. So I really love the peace of mind that that gives me. And we're sort of building up a little bit of a buffer in that. So that's really awesome. And also started an emergency sinking fund that I want to get to about $10,000. At the moment, we are sitting at $7,500, just purely for emergencies, not for, an emergency dinner out or whatever. So I'm feeling really good about that. I'm feeling good about it, but I'm also feeling really impatient. I really want to hit that number, and I was actually hoping to hit it before the end of this year. It's not going to happen, but I really want to hit that soon so that I can start on the next process, which I wanted next year to be starting to work on the next long-term goal. We are living in an apartment in Sydney, and when I say Sydney, I don't mean the city, I mean an hour outside of Sydney in a suburb. And while it's not a bad place to be, it's actually quite nice, and I love our little apartment. I really want a backyard, and I really want some space. I really want the ability to have vegetable garden, maybe do the whole permaculture thing. I really am looking forward to doing that and having a couple of animals. We do have a cat, which you may have seen in previous videos. Having some animals and really having that space and nature surrounding us. That's something that I really want. You have those unlived lives that you dream about. One of those is where I am an extreme minimalist, and I live off grid in a tiny home on some land, and that's that's something I really would love to do. So that's my goal, I think, from 2020 onwards, to start saving for that eventuality, for the time where we can move out of Sydney and have our own space, and it not being at the expense of the next 30 years of our lives paying off a mortgage. So yeah, that got deep all of a sudden. Those are pretty much all the items on my depth year list that I started out in 2019 with. Oh, and of course, I did mention crocheting, and I did actually do some crocheting, so I will tick that off my list. I didn't do the project I originally started with. I created myself I know you can knit these, but I crocheted myself a picnic blanket, just a very simple crochet. I think it was either a simple single stitch or single and double stitch, so nothing too crazy. So I now have a picnic blanket which lives in my car that I can take out, and it's sort of like a multicolored stripy one, so that was really enjoyable to do. And that's probably the biggest thing I have ever knitted or crocheted before. I struggled to finish off a scarf when I do knitting, so I was really impressed with that. And also I crocheted some face washes as well, or cloths that you can use as face washes or washers as well, which live in the bathroom, and I did those out of cotton. So yeah, I can tick that one off my list too. That was really fun to do. Maybe I'll get more into some crocheting in winter again, but I do have I suppose it's coming from my minimalist perspective. I worry about doing a project and what I'm going to do with a finished item. So I can't just crochet a bunch of things without knowing what I'm going to use it for, or why I'm purchasing all this stuff. And I understand the need to practice and get better, but I do want to have an outcome for that thing. So that's what I guess keeps me slow when I'm doing projects like that as well. Overall, I feel like my depth year went well in some areas, especially the slowing down of purchasing and the focusing in on things, but I feel like a lot of it was me just stopping things. So, you know, I stopped buying so many clothes, I stopped consuming so many books, I stopped consuming the sheer volume of things, but at the same time I didn't get deep into creativity or tarot reading or anything, you know, like specifically either. So the studies that I said I was going to do, I didn't do, not to the degree that I thought I would do them. And I think I'll probably do another video on depth year 2020. At the moment I'm thinking I would like to do a depth year in 2020, but I need to, I guess, sit back and think about, sorry about the noise in the background. Someone has got like one of those cars that love, and they obviously like to make noise with their cars. Sorry about the background noise, it's someone that's idling their car out the front with their music choice. Anyway, I do think I will do a depth year again in 2020. What that's going to look like, I'm not sure yet. I feel like I really need to sit there and think about what success looks like as a depth year, and potentially not having such rigid rules. So I think it doesn't help when I say to myself, I'm going to focus on tarot, I'm going to like spend the next 3 months doing tarot to the exclusion of all other things, you know, study it like you would a course at university. I don't think that works well for me. I think I resist it. I think I get bored and deliberately rebel. So that's something to think about. But there are, I guess, keywords or themes that I can bring into a depth year in 2020. So I think that's how I will work it in 2020, and I will bring out some videos on that as well, because I do feel like I want to get back into the swing of YouTube videos. So anyway, I will stop talking because this is pretty long, and if you've got to the end, you're amazing. And I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.